So, what we'll do actually in this in today's lecture, I will try to uh, bring up ideas around discontinuities, uh, which are evident from the pattern of settlement, and also from the pattern of shifting and reshifting, which have been occurring in Delhi during 13th and 14th century time. And we are actually talking about this shift in the light of knowledge we draw upon M. Athar Ali's work. It is a scholarly work on Delhi's history, and he has actually thrown uh, considerable light on what happened to the settlement patterns as a result of arrival of Islamic sultans. And so he has been giving several examples after examples, on the basis of which you can come to know that Delhi is actually assuming a new complexion, in the light of the new names and also the manner of settlement. And so these are all evident from the process of population, depopulation, repopulation, which I will explain uh, by contextualizing why was this process underway. So we have to look out for events to explain these processes. That is, settlement, resettlement, and then population, depopulation, and then repopulation. So it's a kind of dialectic which Delhi had been undergoing during 13th and 14th centuries time. Is it clear to everyone?
So are we still talking about the Islamic phase?
Yes, yes. We have just started, and we will dwell upon this for a few lectures till we reach a new phase, that is a Mughal period. So for Sultanate period basically constitutes early phase of Islam within India, and the end of Sultanate, it constitutes the middle ground between Mughal phase and the early Islamic phase. So we are basically at the moment talking about early Islamic phase. So what has been happening to Delhi? So to begin with, uh, I had already told you, and again I am again repeating that when Qutbuddin Aibak came to Delhi to begin his inning, his political inning, he had to actually locate himself in space. So he occupied the very place which he found ready-made to an extent, and Kila Rai Pithora and several other structures which were already there served this very purpose. That means a ready-made structure where he could have started his political career from. So Kila Rai Pithora turned out to be nucleus. That means that became the epicenter within Delhi region, where from all sorts of political developments were to emerge sooner or later. Is this clear? So what he did actually, having occupied this place, he started redeveloping this very place. Hmm. Because once a new group had come to rule over from, things were not going to remain same, because their worldview uh, and their architectural plan and their political schemes were not the same as it used to be earlier, prior to the coming of Islam. So all these was going to reflect on uh, the spatial planning and the political planning. So it all started with the occupation of Kila Rai Pithora by Kutubuddin Aibak, where he brought about a few changes. So building up of structures like Qutub Minar and building up of mosque right there beside Qutub Minar, and then settlement of people in and around that very area, settlement of people who were Islam followers. So and then soon after, a madrasa came up, and I hope you all know what madrasa is. It is a pedagogic space where exchange of knowledge takes place between teacher and the students within Islamic pedagogic system. So it is a special uh, category within the Islam where the teaching occurs. It's like a school. So religious teaching as well as non-religious teaching, which may be of practical importance, practical relevance. These are actually taught at place within Islamic realm, and this is called madarsa. So the first madarsa muazzin, came to be established on that very complex where Qutub Minar was. Is it clear to everyone? हेलो.
Yes.
हाँ हाँ. सो एक बार थोड़ा सा हिंदी में बताना चाहूँगा. इस्लाम के आने के साथ साथ जो नए लोग दिल्ली में आते हैं, उन उनका जो शासन करने का तरीका है और उनका जो स्थापत्य कला को लेके जो उनका दृष्टिकोण है, हाँ, और उनका जो नज़रिया है, वो यहाँ पे नज़र आने लगता है. वो बहुत बदलाव लाता है दिल्ली के नेबरहुड पैटर्न में, और दिल्ली के जो स्थापत्य कला का जो दृश्य है, हाँ, जो इसका भूदृश्य है, उसमें तमाम बदलाव आते हैं. और उस बदलाव के पीछे वजह है एक नए सांस्कृतिक धार्मिक वर्ग का आना. तो हमको इस अंदाज में इसको देखना है कि जब वो आते हैं तो वो कौन कौन सी चीजें हैं, वो कौन कौन से पहलू हैं जहाँ पे हम ये गौर कर सकते हैं कि बदलाव आ रहा है. सो स्थापत्य कला और नेबरहुड, है ना, जहाँ पे जो मोहल्ला बोलते हैं, मोहल्ला. सो एज अ रिजल्ट ऑफ new group, new neighborhoods were coming into existence. So this very place which I'm talking about, that is Kila Rai Pithaura, Mehrauli, and then place nearby, this all soon became populated. This all soon became populated, and for people to settle at a particular place, there has to be a few fundamental and basic amenities. There has to be a few important things which can actually sustain their life. So one is the fundamental thing is the availability of water in abundance. So that is a very necessary thing. And another thing which is equally important is sense of security, a sense of protection, which they wanted to feel. So feeling protected is very important. So as far as this region is concerned, uh, water point of view, water supply point of view, this place was not very preferable. However, as a result of intervention by few sultans like Iltutmish, Alauddin Khilji, Firoz Shah Tughlaq, mm, uh, water supply could be ensured. It could be assured. However, those water bodies which were established, which were built because of serious intervention by these couple of sultans, like I mentioned, Iltutmish and Firoz Shah Tughlaq, and then there were other more people who had come. So it started, providing some degree of respite as far as the water supply was concerned. However, by and large, these place, that is the Mehrauli region, it could not be considered better whenever it came to deal with the water supply. Having said this, this place was still uh, par excellence when it came to uh, the idea of protection because of being surrounded by rocky region, because of the presence of this stony and the rocky ridge which actually passed through this region. uh, it provided enough material for the fort building because for fort building sultans invariably depended upon the supply of stone. So stone quarries were very necessary. So from this angle, this place was anytime better compared to any other part of the Delhi because it could actually supply stone in abundance for the purpose of fort building. That is why you have a good number of buildings in and around this very region. So because of the presence of a few water bodies and because of the presence of forts, this place soon became overpopulated. Overpopulated means the water which was available in this part of Delhi could not actually cater to the disproportionately increased demands of these people. So there was there was a increase in the pressure. Hmm. There was a strain on the revenue. There was a perceptible increase in the tension as a result of overgrowth of this very region. Is this very clear?
So you just start with it.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Is Vivek trying to say something? Vivek, what do you have to say?
Sir,
Sir,
you just
this is
start now or just how much time happen?
The lecture.
Yes, sir.
Lecture started at 141 or 142. So I'm talking about the early Islamic phase and Delhi. So what has been happening in Delhi? So basically, if I have to put this in another words, there is a process of urbanization. There is a process of urbanization. So what do you have to think of when you talk about urbanization? What all do you actually think of? You think of settlement. You think of occupation of the place in the very first place, and then people settle down there, and then new houses crop up and all over those places, and then all basic amenities like marketplace, water bodies, and the forts, and several other structures which accompany uh, the settlement. These became noticeable in and around this place, and this place soon came to be known as Delhi A Kohna. What is Delhi A Kohna? Delhi A Kohna basically is an equivalent of old city. So, but this old city is a relative term. I mean, you cannot understand the existence of old unless you imagine new. So, what was the new place which came into existence? That was Shahar e Now. Uh, in the light of the fact that this place had become overpopulated, overcrowded, and water deficiency had become a serious matter in this region. So people were bound, they were feeling bound to relocate. They were bound to relocate. So it was perhaps because of this. I mean, this is, again, a very hypothetical. Historians have tried to explain this shift. Why was there new city coming up when there was already an old city? So these are, a few practical explanations which are offered. Hmm. Is it clear so far?
yes, sir.
Mhm. So,
You,
so the new
the
place. Yes, Deveshi.
Sir, could you please repeat the point of the why did a new city come up instead of already having an old city?
See, that has to be explained in view of the facts that this newly established place, this newly established place, that is, place nearby Mehrauli, nearby Kila Rai Pithora, this after a certain point of time had become overcrowded, and water deficiency was a constant problem. So, in these neighborhoods which I am talking about, which I am pointing out, people actually had to go far away from the place of their settlement to fetch water for their everyday life. And uh, water was not, enough in the first place. Another issue which I, just missed was that of trouble caused by a group of people. They were called mayos. So these mayos would actually harass people who would come down to water bodies. So they would harass them. They would harass their women, and they would very often raid them. So people fearing the Mayo's attack would hesitate to visit, and that was one thing. And another thing that eventually these water, bodies were depleting because of the silting up, because these very places were getting silted up, and there was no re-excavation, and there was no removal of the debris and the waste which were getting silted up, and there was a little space left in these water bodies to hold water coming down from the water streams, because the water usually would come down from the catchment areas. What were those catchment areas? If you ever visit Delhi, I mean today you have these institutes like IIT and Qutub Institutional Area and Jawaharlal Nehru University and other empty places, like there is a Sanjayban forest. From all these places actually, these places constituted catchment areas. So from here, the water would actually become part of the feeders, and all these feeders, feeders would feed water into water stream would roll down into all new water bodies, and that is where the people would get their water from. But these water bodies were not right in the vicinity of the neighborhoods, so people were troubled. I mean, if I have to sum this up, people did not have easy access to water. There was a insufficiency of the water, and there was also danger inherent because of the certain groups like Mayos and several other troublesome groups. So people were feeling inclined to
So what
relocate.
is Mio?
Yes, Ankur.
What is Mio as you are saying because of Mio?
मियो एक यहाँ पे दिल्ली में ही, देखिए दिल्ली में मुसलमान के आने से पहले, इस्लाम के आने से पहले यहाँ पे तमाम लोग थे। हमने जो चर्चा किया है कि यहाँ पे राजपूत लोग भी थे, तो राजपूत एक डोमिनेंट वर्ग है ना, एक बहुत ही वर्चस्व वाला वर्ग है। उसकी तो हमने चर्चा कर दी, लेकिन दिल्ली में तमाम ऐसे वर्ग भी थे जो है ना, दिल्ली के क्षेत्रों में रहते थे, और उन वो बहुत ही कबीले किस्म के थे। तो अपने गुजारा के लिए, है ना, अपने आप को आरामदेह बनाने के लिए वो आए दिन लोगों पे धावा बोलते थे और लूट लेते थे, लूटपाट करते थे, और जो भी उनको मिलता था उसी से अपना गुजारा करते थे। तो मेयो एक वर्ग है जो है ना, अक्सर इन लोगों पे धावा बोल देता था। तो जब भी कोई पानी लेने आता था इन जलाशयों से, तो उन पे वो धावा बोल दिया करते थे। तो लोग बहुत ही सहमे हुए थे, डरे और सहमे हुए थे। सो पीपल वर फीलिंग टेरिफाइड। So that is why they felt inclined towards a new place. So what is that new place which comes up in the course of development of Delhi? in the course of urbanization of Delhi. So it's called Ghiaspur. Where is this Ghiaspur actually located? This Ghiaspur is not very far away from the Yamuna River, and this was perhaps it was built by Ghiyasuddin Balban, and this secured enough water supply because it was very close to Yamuna River, and this very place also became very crowded. I mean, it started appealing to people not only from old Delhi, where people were already living. It was also appealing to people who were living elsewhere. Why? Because at this very place, uh, Nizamuddin, a very famous and very noted Sufi sage, Sufi saint, had made his base, and because of his miraculous power, he had cured illnesses of several people. So he had become increasingly popular. So people from far off places would come to visit him to seek his blessing. So because of his popularity, this very place soon became well settled, and it soon became a kind of parallel a site, a parallel city, parallel to Delhi a Kohna. Is it clear? So this actually became a kind of Jamaat Khana. Jamaat means where people are coming, they are gathering up, and they are actually leading a very practical life. They can actually resolve their everyday issues, like looking out for the livelihood, and looking out for the cure of the illnesses, and looking out for the spiritual benefit. So this place, newly established place, that is Ghayaspur, not very far from Yamuna, became another hub. It became another hotbed where people prefer to settle down. So now Delhi is becoming a place where several things are happening. So it is a place to be. So it has now become a happening place. So it's not that at a particular pocket activities can be confined to. These activities are actually spreading over other places as well because of several other practical reasons which I just explained. Is this clear? Hello.
Yes, sir.
So you have to actually look out for the activities to embody the process of urbanizations. What are those activities? You have to see the fort building. You have to see the establishment of market.
सर
Because, हाँ, yes,
सर
Kunal.
ये गयासपुर वाला दोबारा बताना सर।
हाँ, घ्यासपुर एक जगह है, यमुना से बहुत दूर नहीं है। बलबन ने इसको बसाया था, और इसके बसने के पीछे जो व्यवहारिक जो वर्णन दिया जाता है, हाँ, जो वजह बताया जाता है, वो ये है कि जो पहली दौर में जिस केंद्र का विकास हुआ, वो समय के साथ बहुत ज़्यादा भीड़ भाड़ वाला जगह हो गया था, और पानी की समस्या होने लगी थी। साथ ही साथ जो छिटपुट जो ग्रुप थे, जो इर्द गिर्द बसे हुए थे इस पुराने दिल्ली के आसपास में, उसमें मेयो का नाम बहुत उल्लेखनीय है, जिन्होंने बहुत परेशान किया था यहाँ पे रहने वालों को। और जब भी वो लोग अपना पानी लेने जलाशयों के पास में आते थे, तो ये लोग उनको उनकी औरतों पे धावा बोलते थे, उन पे धावा बोलते थे, लूटपाट करते थे। तो एक भय जैसा माहौल था। तो ये वजह बताया जाता है कि एक नया जगह का विकास होता है जो यमुना से बहुत दूर नहीं है। वहाँ पे वो सुरक्षित भी महसूस कर रहे थे, और वहाँ पे उनकी जो पानी की दैनिक समस्या थी, है ना, जो उनकी दिनचर्या में जो पानी का एक जो भूमिका था, वो भी है ना, उसको भी वो उससे निजात पा सके। तो घ्यासपुर जो है, बलबन द्वारा बसाया हुआ शहर कहा जाता है। और इसी जगह पे जो बहुत ही मशहूर सूफी साधु थे, जो सूफी संत थे, उनका नाम है निजामुद्दीन औलिया। आज भी आप जाएंगे तो निजामुद्दीन दरगाह तो वहीं पे उनके मरने के बाद वहां पे उनके ही कब्र पे एक दरगाह का विकास हुआ, जो एक धार्मिक स्थल बन गया है,
सर
आध्यात्मिक स्थल बन गया है है ना।
अजमेर वाली सर, वो हजरत निजामुद्दीन वाली दरगाह।
नहीं, वो तो निजामुद्दीन चिश्ती, वो तो चिश्ती की है।
अच्छा।
हाँ हाँ, ये निजामुद्दीन जो है ना, आपको निजामुद्दीन रेलवे स्टेशन है, वहाँ से हुमायूं टूम भी बहुत करीब है। हुमायूं का जो मकबरा है आपको वहाँ पे नजर आएगा। आप कभी भी जब दिल्ली आएंगे तो यू व्हेन यू पे विजिट टू ऑल दिस प्लेसेस यू विल कम टू नो। वो वहाँ से यमुना रिवर बहुत दूर नहीं है। इज इट क्लियर टू एवरीवन?
So at
यस
that
सर।
time, Meho tribe is dominant.
मेयो टाइम डोमिनेंट नहीं है, ये एक ग्रुप है जो वहाँ पे मौजूद थे और अपना गुजारा के लिए उनका, चूंकि वो बहुत ही खाना बदोश टाइप के थे और मतलब मिक्स थे वो, मतलब कुछ हद तक वो कुछ उसके ऐसे लोग भी थे जो एग्रीकल्चरल एक्टिविटीज में थे। यहाँ पे जिस किस्म की खेती होती थी, यहाँ पे जिस तरह से लोग जीते थे, वो बहुत ही वैसा ग्रुप है जो है ना, इमर्ज होता था, अटैक करता था और फिर से रिट्रीट कर जाता था अपने बसिंदे में, बहुत ही गुरिल्ला जैसा। तो
यानी कि सर ये पुरानी दिल्ली पर अटैक करते थे, तो इसलिए उन्होंने एक नए शहर की खोज की जो मतलब यमुना नदी के पास ही है।
हाँ हाँ, तो इस वजह से ये जो है ना, ये तमाम जो कुछ वजह थे जिसकी वजह से एक प्रेशर डेवलप हुआ। हाँ, देयर वाज एज ए कंसिक्वेंस ऑफ ऑल दिस देयर वाज अ परसेप्टेबल प्रेशर, एक एक बहुत ही उसमें टेंशन था। देयर वाज अ सर्टेन डिग्री ऑफ टेंशन व्हिच वाज बिल्डिंग अप, है ना, एस्केलेट हो रहा था। और दिस सून लेड टू द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ अदर फ्यू पैरेलल साइट्स। तो घयासपुर जो है इज एन एग्जांपल ऑफ सच एक्सटेंशन।
ओके सर।
हाँ हाँ। तो अच्छा, when you talk of development of market, when you talk of urbanization process, आपको इन्हीं सब इवेंट्स को लोकेट करना है कि फोर्ट बिल्डिंग को लोकेट करना है, जो स्ट्रक्चर्स आ रहे हैं, जैसे मॉस्क बिल्डिंग को लोकेट करना है, स्कूल बिल्डिंग को लोकेट करना है। एंड यू हैव टू टॉक अबाउट द वाटर बॉडीज, यू हैव टू टॉक अबाउट द फोर्ट बिल्डिंग, द हाउस बिल्डिंग, और वी हैव literary as well as archaeological evidences which corroborate, which substantiate the development of all these settlements which I'm talking about. So, N. Athar Ali, he relies more upon the literary sources for substantiation of the process of urbanization which occurred in Delhi during 13th and 14th century. And how do we explain all this? We very often refer to the contributory efforts of various sultans after sultans. Chunki Kutubuddin Aibak onwards, we had several successors, following him. So whoever came following Kutubuddin Aibak, they all actually contributed in one way or other way to ensure that Delhi is actually developing. It is not static. And so in the form of settlement, in the form of things which were necessary, uh, the development of Delhi can be understood as a part of a process of urbanization. मतलब एक शहर बन रहा था, दिल्ली में आबादी बढ़ रही थी, इट वॉज बिकमिंग पॉपुलेटेड। हाँ, इट वॉज बिकमिंग पॉपुलेटेड, बट अब ये देख रहे हैं ना कि व्हेन आई एम talking about a new place. So in this new place, people are, instead of coming down to already established place, people are now preferring newly established place for two reasons: because of water, because of security, and also because of a very famous religious figure from whom they seek, um, several treatments, spiritual treatment, and their physical treatments. So he had become very popular. Hmm. So popular, so much so that he ultimately became an equivalent figure who competed with the mainstream political apparatus. And it is for this reason that Nizamuddin had become, a contested figure, especially in the views of the sultans. So sultans would hardly like him because people would no longer look up to him. They were actually getting inclined towards Nizamuddin, and people were getting inclined towards this very new place. So there was not only competition between Sultan, a political figure, and a religious figure, there was also a competition between two places. So new place versus old place. So people were actually juggling between these two places depending on what they needed. Uh, uh, is this clear?
So, as you
Uh-huh.
are saying that because of security, they goes to take place there near Yamuna Nadi. As you are saying that Gayasuddin, whatever the place, how can you
Ghayaspur.
say that they are secure there? The Meos can attack there also.
No, no, because
Attack on
see,
them.
this place which I am talking about, Ghayaspur, uh, it remained safe from the Mayos because there was a quite a distance from Mehrauli region to Ghayaspur. So it was not easy for Mayos to go all the way from Mehrauli region down to Ghayaspur. So relatively it was safer. However, uh, the safety aspect became redundant. So this place also become redundant from a safety point of view when Mongol, who constituted a a constant challenge, who posed a serious challenge on a regular basis, they actually came all the way down to Ghayaspur. So Ghayaspur soon had become redundant from safety point of view. So that is why, uh, because of its redundancy, people again started shifting back to old Delhi. So there is a shift from rock to river and then from river to rock. So there is a movement back and forth. Is this clear?
Sir, as you are saying that there is
Means,
competition
sir,
between political and religion figures,
Mm.
which means old Delhi is in control of political figure and the
Exactly.
new place is in control of religion figure.
Exactly. Who is this? Vivek?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Vivek, this is very much true. I mean, not now. Maybe I think in one of the papers, this very idea, perhaps Sunil Kumar in his chapter has actually drawn our attention to a neighborhood, and Ghayaspur is a part of this neighborhood where not politics, religious aspect is far more important, and uh, religion is actually playing the role of politics. So, what is actually the purpose of having a state? What is the purpose of having a state? Purpose, in the first place, state actually takes, care of your everyday life issues. It's not that every day you have to fight. What are the everyday necessities? What are the quotidian issues? Quotidian issues are like when you fall sick, you must have a cure. When you are hungry, you must have food to eat. When there must be equal distribution of the resources. It's not that in a single place, some people are loathing. Some people are feasting, and at that very place, you will also notice that people are dying of the starvation. So this place which I'm talking about, Ghayaspur, where a person like Nizamuddin stayed. He did not care for the uh, luxury. Very unlike the political environment where the rulers, sultans, they built up an environment where they wasted a large amount of money for the fort building, for their dresses, for their jewelry, and for their weapon making and for the maintenance of the army. So the money which would come from the people, a larger part of that revenue would not flow back to people. It would actually take care of their luxuries. Unlike this, a person like Nizamuddin Auliya did not require anything of this sort. So, whatever contribution he would get from the people, he would actually return that. So, he would eat less, he would live in a very ordinary dwelling rather than living in a palatial setup. He would actually take care of the people, and that was very much possible. So he was setting up a different and competent political model which was embedded in the religion, and that is why it competed with the old Delhi. So you do not only see harmony between these two places. It's not that new place is releasing the tension of the old place. It is also trying to compete because it is trying to overtake its importance. Is it okay? Are you all following me?
Yes, sir.
Uh,
Sir,
Means
huh.
the Mio Jaipur,
sir,
means the
as you
Mio
told
Jaipur permanent
that there
houses.
are,
Uh-huh. You kindly, one of you say first, and then Kunal, you had something to say?
yes, sir.
Huh.
Sir, as you told before that there are the rulers has settled down the Islamic people nearby places. So why there are why there are religious problem there?
So that is why in my previous lecture, I had told you that on the surface, people who follow Islam appear a monolithic category. Hmm. But once you excavate the social realities, and then what you notice is that seemingly monolithic category are actually highly fragmented. So the political class, uh, the political class has something, which is way different from the ruled class. The political class has its priority, which is way different from the religious categories, who are all part of one, identity, that is Islam. But once you actually unpack, once you open the box, you realize that the interests are divergent. These are not convergent. Is it clear? So
Yes, sir.
Sufi has his own way of dealing the problems which are part of everyday life of the people, and political class has different way of dealing with the problem which people have. So political class, it is basically two a way of governance. These are the two ways of governance. One is spiritual ways, which requires less material support for helping each other, whereas the political structure, the proper political structure, which we very often talk about, that actually requires massive amount of money. It requires considerable size of revenue to sustain itself and sustain others. But the most part of that considerable revenue goes towards the sustenance of that political entity rather than sustaining the life of the people. So this is skewed reality. Ah, I mean, it's like the political apparatus, which is the dominant political apparatus. It promises security, safety, and comfort to the people, but it actually ends up taking care of itself. So this gap between what they promise and what they fulfill is actually taken care of by a spiritual, way of governance, which was, evident in Ghayaspur under the supervision of saintly figure Nizamuddin. Is this clear? So there is a very clear,
Yes.
this is a very clear example of inter-competition. I mean, on the surface they look same, but there is a competition. It's not that they are all united. That would be actually mistake to assume that they were all united and they had only one line of action and one line of thought. This is not how it was. If you interrogate, if you investigate deeper and further, you will realize that there are several fragments. These fragments are actually colored with one category. It's called Islamic category. But once you unpack it, you see, series of contradictions and paradoxes, which are cooperating and which are also contradicting each other. All right. So what I will do actually for today's lecture, I will sum this up. I will not talk much more because later on what I will do in hopefully after tomorrow's lecture, when Malati and Abhinav had finished their presentation, I will take, if time allows me, to bring in another examples, because other than Delhi Kohana and Ghayaspur, there were few more settlements which had come up uh, in and across Delhi, and these came up as a result of the tension, as a result of the practical queries, practical concerns, because new settlements were coming. And these were all coming in response to new form of tension and new form of concerns. So we would respond to those, what those concerns were, and how were these new settlements different from the previous settlements, and what was happening. So Delhi is no longer a place where we are actually setting our gaze upon one particular site. New other places are coming into prominence, and we are actually taking our attention to those places also, and we are trying to understand why are these new places coming up, and we try to explain that in the light of the tension, in the light of the tension. So we understand the process of urbanization, process of settlement, development of market, and the process of the I mean, it is not that it's a linear development. There is a lot of fluctuation. Sometimes people are coming, sometimes they are dispersing. So these are all happening in response to several challenges which prevailed in contemporary time. Ah. So we will discuss about all this. That was it for today's lecture. So you kindly digest this much, think over it, read this article by Athar Ali. It is very much a part of this reading. I hope you can locate
What the
that.
page number, sir?
See, this material is not the page wise, but after Richard Cohen, this chapter starts.
Page 35.
Ha, page 35, yes. The title is Capital of Sultans, Delhi during the 13th and 14th centuries.
Sir, excavation at Lal Court by B.R. Mani. That is second unit, na?
That is in the first unit.